Court regular meeting this Monday, August 22nd. Call the meeting to order, observing the presence of a quorum with myself, Commissioners Wright, Guerin, Parton, and Williams, and the presence of the county clerk, the county attorney, and the county treasurer. And if you would make sure your cell phones are muted, and stand and join us for the pledge and prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner Williams, would you lead us in prayer?
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day that you have granted us. Father, thank you for the rain that you have bestowed upon our county. Father, be with us as we do the business of Mills County. Guide us and direct us in all our actions. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Okay, I've been asked to remind the commissioners and anyone that speaks to please speak towards your microphones. The people that may in the courtroom may hear you fine, but there are other people either at present or later watching on YouTube, and it's not coming across. So the first number 2 on our agenda is approval of the minutes of August 15th, as the court had the opportunity to review the minutes.
I have removed, I have reviewed them and I see other directions.
Does that constitute a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
We have a motion from Commissioner Williams to approve the minutes as presented, second from Commissioner Guerin. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next item on the agenda is audience with individuals. We'll have our public hearing here in a moment. Has anyone signed up to speak, Ms. Scott? Okay. Well, now we'll start this. I'll make the motion. We will adjourn the session of Commissioners Court. We will conduct a public hearing. Actually, we'll recess, conduct a public hearing, and reconvene. So with that, I move court declare a recess for the purpose of holding a public hearing.
I'll second.
Okay, motion from Judge Smith, second from Commissioner Guerin. Court is in recess. We are going to have a public hearing. I'd like to start, if the public would indulge me. I've got a little overview of the budget. I think.
We need to vote, Judge.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good point. We have a motion from Judge Smith, second from Commissioner Guerin. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Ms. Brooks, if you could bring up the summary. Okay, let's see if I can get this off the screen.
Put it down at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah. Here, try that. Okay, that's good enough. Let's go to the next slide. This will be a quick overview on the county's budget and tax rate that we'll be holding, that we're having a public hearing on. Next slide, please, Jack. There we go. Little background. The court's been discussing this budget, this proposed budget since August 1st. You can see we did it in increments, biting off bite-sized pieces through the last Monday. Now we are going to hold a public hearing. Following the public hearing, the court may choose to vote on the budget. There are a number of other votes that are related. Will be a vote on elected official compensation, the budget, and then finally county tax rate. Let's go to the next slide. This is just a real high level. This is, flying, we call it the 30,000-foot view, and it focuses on the operating budget of the county and not the special use funds. Revenue is going to be about $1.9 million higher this year. based due to non-recurring wind farm. I call it gap year taxes. It's full taxes before the abatements kick in next year. The expenses are approximately $600,000 higher than the current year budget. The result is a surplus, but it's non-recurring and offsets a deficit that was budgeted in the current year. And the tax rate will be reduced approximately 11%. Next slide. Just to give you some rough numbers, just picked out the big categories behind the revenue growth I mentioned. The gap year revenue from the wind farm tax, there it is. You see, rounds to $1,000,008, $1,796,796. We're budgeting increase in prisoner boarding revenue. The jail is staying very full, and the sheriff anticipates that plus a rate change going into next year. And with our new subdivision ordinance, we've budgeted subdivision fees. That is approximately the fees that would go with 2 subdivisions. So that's not a lot of activity. It's just, but it is a forecast. And then budgeted miscellaneous income from the auction sale of the old EMS station. That number was thrown in the budget before we set a floor price. So the floor price, I believe, is 147-ish thousand. So that number is a little low at this point. So that's the revenue growth is just over $2 million. Next slide. So I wanted to look at the tax roll for the 2 years because we talked about the gap wind farm. This is information from the appraisal district. The top line, you can see the certified tax roll of the county last year, this year, and it's increasing by about $340 million. The next line down is the new personal property. Is personal property. I'm reading this. No. Next line down is new real property. Okay, this is landed building. So we've got $6.5 million of new construction, if you will, because there's no new land in the county. Last year we had 4.7, so there's about, I call it $2 million of organic growth, just people building on property in the Mills County tax rolls. Then the new personal property, and that's $295 million. That is primarily a wind farm. The wind farm stuff is not real estate. It's not considered building. It's considered equipment that's attached to real estate. So that's the category. That's the change that's driving this year. That will not be there next year. And then the tax roll, if you net out the new property, you see the difference in the tax roll, 641, 683, $42 million. That is the reappraisal. So that's the numbers behind the taxes and the tax roll of Mills County. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, expense items. I talked about expenses going up about $600,000. I just tried to pick out the big one. And actually, we're spending more than this, but remember, we're excluding the special use funds. So you can see at the very top, we've talked about this, increased compensation across the board. And those are fully loaded numbers, which means benefits and taxes. One countywide, we're adding 1 full-time equivalent, and that's not the salary. Again, that's salary, benefits, payroll tax, all the stuff that goes with an employee. We're buying vehicles, which we've discussed. You notice that I put that in the non-recurring category. I've tried to break this down into what we're faced. If we do it, it'll happen this year and going forward. Other things we can do, and it won't necessarily happen the next year. So there's vehicles, there's security cameras, and related storage devices and software. That's jail and courthouse. There's technology expense. That's new computers, new server and software. Those are primarily non-recurring. There's money put aside for renovations on the it should be 1888 jail. 50,000, that was a plan we had about 4 years ago that got put aside during COVID. It's going to be electrical, plumbing, and if we have the money that want to start putting in climate control, which means HVAC into the lower floor, primarily to prevent continued deterioration. In our insurance premiums have gone up. That's recurring. Building expense, that's the offset for selling the old EMS station. Don't know where we'd put that money. It's available if we need it on the new EMS station. It's available for courthouse repairs. It's available for old jail, but that's just the offset of that money. And then miscellaneous legal and contingency. So those are the big chunks of expenses, excluding the special use funds. Let's go to the next slide. This is a graphic of what the county tax rate's done, and the 2022 is based on proposed because obviously we haven't adopted it. You can 0.8 was the statutory maximum tax rate. And you can see that we were there for a number of years and then trending down since. And the proposed rate is 0.6061, and that's the far right-hand column. Next slide. Okay, key issues behind the budget. I mentioned the proposed tax rate. That's a reduction of about 7.5 basis points or 11% from last year. And we're down from a peak rate in 2017 of 0.8. We have the benefit this year of one-time non-recurring wind farm attacks that we've talked about. And let's go to the next slide. Okay, this is a table of the taxes, and it's based off actual taxes, current year, proposed taxes for next year. And you can see the components of the taxes, which is the county maintenance and operation budget, interest and sinking fund, which is required for the bonds on the jail, and the road and bridge tax, which is driven off the ad valorem assessments. And there's the total county taxes. Remember, the new Windfarm added 1.078, almost $1.8 million of due taxes to the county. This shows the county taxes with the lower rate are going up 1.6 million. So not even the full Windfarm amount. And there's the amount of personal property. And there's the bottom line is the change in tax revenue to the county net of or excluding the Windfarm effect. So you can see that if you look past the Windfarm lump non-recurring amount, we're actually lowering property taxes, lowering property tax revenue to the county, not lowering anybody's property taxes, unfortunately. Let's go ahead. Other issues looking forward. Next year, that Windfarm bump completely goes away. The property goes off the tax rolls as it is 100% abated. However, we contractually will receive payments come in as non-tax revenue of $875,000 each year for 10 years. So we will not be facing a runoff and depreciation curve on that. The change, though, from this year to next year, it means $918,000 less revenue next year. And then the proposed budget looks at that non-recurring revenue bump, and here's where it's going. We put it in non-recurring capital expenses, equipment, vehicles, technology, reserves, and some of our building projects, the jail, the courthouse. Let's go on to the next one. Other things in the budget, there's an across the board pay increase of exactly $1.20 an hour for employees and an equivalent amount for elected officials. We're continuing the longevity pay plan with increased funding to the volunteer fire departments in recognition of higher fuel costs, and to our Child Welfare Board, which has become more active. The other community organizations, the county funds, the funding remains generally unchanged. We're seeing an increase in maintenance expense and repairs for both the courthouse and the jail, and we're expecting higher interest rates on the county funds due to the market environment. Next. Okay, this is a continuation. Some of this we've touched on. Staffing's unchanged except for one person in the clerk's office. Let's see what else is here. The road and bridge fund allocations, this doesn't affect the overall, but the statutes say this has to be, we can't just divide it evenly like we had. We have to do it on some specific basis. So this year it's just split up based on road mileage in each precinct. We've budgeted the sale of the EMS station. The auction scheduled September 9th. It'll be an outcry auction on the north steps of the courthouse at 10 in the morning. There's a reserve price. Got to tell you, it's speculative. Could get nothing and not sell, or we could get way more. But for budgeting purposes, we've got a number. The American Rescue Act fund balance is spent to zero to construct the EMS station. Now that spending's coming out of a special use fund, so you didn't see it in the spending summary we talked about. That was non-taxpayer money. We've got the technology expenses I've mentioned a few times, and the prisoner boarding rate, which will increase by 50% in January. Next slide. So other stuff, high level, basically all the costs of running your county are going up. Everything from fuel to paper to electricity. With the telephone budget is moved out of the departments in most cases and is in the internet phone category in non-departmental. That reflects the transition to voice over IP, which is expected to go live around the end of the month. And we have budgeted a IT support budget under the Goldsmith contract in non-departmental of $48,000. Next. Okay, to wrap all that up, I know it was hard to listen to, but there's 90 plus pages of budget that you could read in lieu of it. The budget, we take the non-recurring revenue and we use it for capital expenses and reserves. Tax rates down 11%, but it will not necessarily offset each taxpayer's reassessment. The rate we're proposing is less than the no new revenue rate is calculated and disclosed under Truth in Taxation. And I showed you it's actually less tax revenue than last year on property that was on the tax rolls both years. And the county financial condition I would represent to you is sound. We are debt free except for the voter approved jail bonds, and we have adequate rainy day funds. And that concludes my mouthful on the budget. This is a public hearing, and we would welcome any of the public that wishes to speak to come up to the microphone and introduce yourself. And well, I'm sorry if I put everybody to sleep with that. It is 9:18. We convened the public hearing at 9:04. If there's no one wishes to participate as a public hearing, I will declare the public hearing closed, and we will reconvene or return from recess in Mills County Commissioners Court. Okay, next thing, number 5 on the agenda is consider an act on accounts payable. As the court had the opportunity to review the payables.
One question that I have, I don't know, I don't guess I've ever seen it. Someone who might know, it might be the jail that may need to enter this one is a employee evaluation from Robert W. Grant and Grant Roberts. I'm sorry, page 8. line item 2. What part of the division? 8. Invoice number 6185.
One evaluation that they do.
Okay. I just hadn't noticed that name ever before, so.
Other than that, I have no.
I believe a new jailer was hired, jailer dispatcher was hired during the month.
Okay.
Other questions on accounts payable? Is
Motion to approve accounts payable.
I second.
we have a motion from Commissioner Wright, a second from Commissioner Williams to approve the accounts payable list as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we've approved. Number 6, consider an act to approve salaries and allowances for elected officials pursuant to the government code. In your agenda is the same notice that was published in the Eagle over a month ago at this point. It is a list all the salaries, other county pays and allowances. There's footnotes that disclose the couple of state allowances. In summary, it increases each elected official's compensation by $2,625 a year. And that's approximately $1.20 an hour times 2,185 hours. And so that's how it ties back to the budgeted increases for all county employees.
So you're saying we only work 2,080 hours?
Well, actually,
I'm just asking.
there, yes, well, no, I'm not saying that. I just had to pull up a number. That if you, a 40-hour week is 2,080 hours a year. Law enforcement has a different pay schedule. They work 2,184 hours. So I just used 2,185 hours to come up with a round number. So, yeah, past, you're doing this as a public service.
That's it.
So
I make a motion that we approve the salaries and allowances for elected officials for the 22-23 year.
okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Williams to approve the salary and allowances for elected officials. And second from Commissioner Guerin. Is there any discussion? Okay, let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we've unanimously approved. Did you vote?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a little bit deaf.
I just don't raise my hand.
Okay. It does help me keep up. with
Okay,
it.
I'll start raising.
Yeah. You don't have to raise it very high.
Okay.
Okay, number 7, consider an act on the 2022-2023 budget. I'm not going to talk much about this because I think I've covered it pretty thoroughly with that presentation, but for the benefit of the court, we went through this over a period of time in some workshops. And I've got there's a couple of pieces here. The first page is a comparison to take the first budget that was proposed, the July 25th budget, and what's actually in your package. And because as we've gone through the workshop, we've had a number of changes and some things have come up. And this is small print, and I apologize for it, but had to make sure the cell phone allowances were in the phone budget. We adjusted vehicle pricing in commissioners in some precincts. We think there was a material change, one in category materials, removed a vehicle out of law enforcement, increased some expending on jail security cameras, which is in called equipment. Anyway, this is a comfort factor to me, and page numbers, if you want to find it, shows, it's a long list. It may be 20, 25 items. Some of it was just corrections. But those are the cumulative changes after 3 weeks of public hearing. I'm sorry, workshop. And then behind that is what you're accustomed to seeing. This is from Charles Miles. It's 3 pages. It's a recap of receipts by fund, with then adjustments for the interfund transfers, and there are a lot of them. And then you end up with fund balances at the end of the year. The second page is the disbursement page. And the third page is the year-end fund balances. And this is one that Ms. Campbell and we're required by statute. Our budget has to show or project fund balances at the end of where we are at the end of the current year and where the budget will take us at the end of next year. So this has 2 projections in it. One is projecting forward through September 30 and then projecting the budget past that. And Ms. Campbell and I have spent a lot of time with Mr. Miles on this, and would just point to you, there are a few that are showing negatives at the end of this year. And in some cases, at the end of next year, has law enforcement being negative. That negative is a reflection of it being negative at the end of this year. What's the assumptions that are behind Mr. Miles's projections is that all the budgeted money gets spent and transfers are not made other than his budget. Ms. Campbell and I expect, and the court historically does this, and it might be as soon as our next meeting, we'll be looking at line item budget adjustments where things have gone over and under budget to make sure no fund ends the year at a negative. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you is the methodology that led to these negatives and that how we plan to address the current year negatives this year, and that will get rid of the projected future negative. And then behind that is the 90 some odd pages of the actual budget, which is dated, I believe, Thursday or Friday. And the first page was listed the amounts of changes and the page number since the first proposed budget in July. And I guess I'll just wrap this up by saying, I think it's a good budget. It's got something for everybody to like and dislike. And I recommend it for approval. Let me make that a little more formal. I move we approve the budget for the Mills County fiscal year 2022 to 2023 as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Commissioner Garrett. Now, discussion. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we have unanimously approved the budget. The next item on the agenda is consider an act on a tax rate. And the information on that is immediately behind the budget in your package. Yeah, I thought I had a resolution in mind with the actual motion in it because it's complicated. Yes, I guess you got it. What we need to send to the appraisal district is really three rates. I mean, all I care about as a taxpayer is the bottom line, which is 0.6061. But what's got to get turned into the appraisal district is a rate for the county maintenance and operations, a county road and bridge rate, and a interest and sinking fund rate, which is required for the debt service on the bonds. Collectively, these things add to 0.6061, but the numbers are in, we actually have to enter an order to adopt the tax rate. And there's a sample order in your package. And I think I'll just read from it to make the motion, so I make no errors. And this, by the way, is a record vote. So the order has to show how each member of the court voted for, against, or abstain. So I move that Mills County adopt a county maintenance and operation rate of 0.45974, a county road and bridge rate of 0.09670, and a county interest and sinking fund rate of 0.04966, which adds to 0.6061. That is my motion. Ms. Scott, you don't need all the numbers. I will give you the order, assuming I have a second and it's approved. So we have a motion from Judge Smith. Second from Commissioner Williams. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Yes, we have to, well, we can, just so we record it individually.
Okay.
So I heard everybody's accent. Okay, so that is an affirmative vote from Ed Smith, Mike Wright, Jed Gearon, Dale Parton, and Jason Williams. Is that correct? Okay. No abstentions, no objections. Okay. Okay, moving from the critical to the less critical, number 9 is we're to consider an act on the holiday schedule and commissioner's court schedule for next year. What's in your package is a proposal for 13 holidays, which is the same number we have this year. You can see them listed. There are 11 listed holidays and 2 floating holidays for the assorted state and federal holidays that the county is not observing. We've traditionally closed the Thursday and Friday around Thanksgiving. That's on here. Christmas falls on a Monday. And what's proposed in this is the preceding Friday and then Christmas Day. And then the 2 floating holidays. And then with that, there is a proposed commissioner's court schedule, which we maintain the traditional 2nd and 4th Monday of every month. We've listed until we get to August. And then during August, in celebration of budget period, we've listed every Monday. So this is, we need to publish a schedule. This is the proposed published schedule. The only thing that's changed off the 2nd and 4th in all of August is the very last one in December of next year. Since the 4th Monday of the month is Christmas Day, that's the 3rd Monday. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're gonna meet back to back.
Yeah, unless the court wants to do it some other way, we can always cancel a meeting. The trouble with moving the first one up is it doesn't give the treasurer much time to get the month on the first. We go to the first Monday, there can be inadequate time to get the financials out.
Yeah. That was gonna be my only question.
Well, is there a motion to adopt the holiday schedule and the commissioner's court schedule?
I move we adopt the 2022 schedule for holidays for every commissioner report.
Should that be 2023?
Should be 2023.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
calendar year twenty
It says
twenty-three.
22.
Yeah,
It says 22, but it should be 23.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
yeah, you're right. Okay, so there's a motion to adopt the twenty twenty-three
Yeah.
holiday schedule and Commissioners Court schedule from Commissioner Guerin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Wright. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now we have a couple of interlocal agreements. Interlocal agreements by statute require Commissioners Court authority to enter into. The first one is with the, and this is item 10, with the Central Texas Council of Governments for the 911 Public Safety Answering Point, commonly called the PSAP. This is an agreement the county has done several times in the past. I point out to you that the Public Safety Answering Point is located in the Law Enforcement Center. It's answered by jailer dispatchers, but the agreement is required to be between the county and the Central Texas Council of Governments. Central Texas Council of Governments collects the 911 tax. It's on each of our phone bills. They use that money to buy, provision, maintain, update, and replace 911 answering equipment across the 7-county area. Mills County, based on population, is entitled to one answering point. And that's why in our budget, you don't see equipment expenditures for 911 equipment. But want to stress that this stops with the incoming call and answering the call. And I believe it includes recording the call, but this is not dispatching. This is dealing with, that's the wrong word, answering 911 calls. Any questions? Oh, there's no financial obligation here. They provide the equipment. We provide a place for it to live, and we protect it, a secure environment, and we operate it. And the only financial obligation is we damage the equipment ourselves, that being ourselves being the county and county employees, the county's responsible.
So it gives us a few exhibits in here, Judge,
Uh-huh.
page 20, 21, and so forth. Are these exhibits for what the COG does and keeps up with?
Yes.
Or is this what?
Well, I mean, there is one, I think there is one of the exhibits that is a training schedule. And some of them equipment testing. I mean, some of this, the 911, the dispatch staff does. For instance, the training log on exhibit 6. I'm not sure on the test log. I believe they do that also. The COG personnel come on site annually to do their cross check and to check our logs. And they were last here a couple of weeks ago, I was told by the COG, and found no discrepancies.
The only other thing I want to mention, like the deal on the very first page, 1-5. They do all the 911 addressing. And so your subdivisions over there, you may be getting a call from them to make sure that's all correct. Because they usually call us to make sure those are correct. So just FYI.
Is there a motion for approval of the interlocal agreement with Central Texas Council of Governments for 911?
I make a motion that we approve the interlocal agreement for Central Texas Council of Government for the 911 Public Safety Insurance Point.
We have a motion from Commissioner Williams. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Gearing. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The second interlocal agreement is with Texas A&M. This is something they explained to me verbally. I don't know if Tom's here or not, but what it basically outlines the provision of an extension agent for the county. And it tracks exactly what we've done here in Mills County for as long as I've been around. The reason for it, according to Mr. Guthrie, was that in some larger counties where the moving parts were not as well known, when there's got changes at the commissioner court level, nobody knew about the extension agent or how that was supposed to work. So statewide, they are asking every county to sign what they call a cooperative agreement. What it says basically is that A&M AgriLife Extension provides a county agent. They pay them, they supervise them, they provide benefits. The county provides office space, office supplies, and reasonable administrative support, and considers in its annual budget process how the county would support the extension program in their county. We do all of those things. That's the agreement. It's documenting the obvious, and I'd move approval.
I move to approve it.
Okay, we'll let Commissioner Gearing move it then. I'll second. Any discussion?
As long as we get to keep Tom.
Well, they may have already called him back since he's not here. But okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the cooperative agreement with Texas A&M AgriLife. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, 12, discuss EMS status station project.
Still waiting on unless they contacted you, Jed, they're still waiting on
I haven't heard from anybody.
surveyor and to get that lined out on the surveyor stuff. So other than that, I don't know anything. Unless there's something in your office, Judge.
No.
Hopefully there's something this week.
Yeah. Hopefully the rain puts them off till next week. So.
Okay, commissioners requesting reports. Start with Commissioner Ryan.
Had a complaint on County Road 429. Damage, and we went out and we took care of that on, also on County Road 412. Working in the shop, fire JCB. And a 10-yard haul truck is still down in the back. That's all I have.
I talked to a caller about that 429. They were attributing it to the as collateral damage from the subdivision. Would that be your assessment? Okay.
It's mostly that is going in their driveway where they had their 2 miles of police brought into their place.
Interesting. Thank you.
It sure is.
Commissioner Gearing.
We've been working on roads as moisture. That's just hauling rock, filling up ditches on the sides and doing some mowing. That's all I've got. The guys at Blue Bonnet are going up to those mills pretty fast. Getting what they got 17 or 18 already up, something like that. Every day seems like they've got another one there. They're moving right along. Sure. That's all I've got. Judge.
Commissioner Parker.
Got 1.9 miles of a special project road hauled. We've still got some revenue left to haul some more, but right now they're out of material, so we're working on the 3 trucks. Trying to get everything still wired the same, had to order some solenoids and stuff, and got to work on Jason's start where we messed it up. So basically hoping for rain this week and try to get some stuff put back together.
Did you get her shipped? Will it shipped yet? Pretty busy last week. Hill Country Community Action last Tuesday, went to that board meeting. And very interesting on that board meeting is that, I was in Lampasas. Pretty good. It was a very good meeting, actually. It's one of the better meetings we've had in several years. The interim new CEO, with her new, cabinet, I guess you would say without better terms, has presented a lot of stuff, and they're gonna do some changes in the way that they present meetings and be held. We're actually looking at moving some of the meetings, instead of them always being in Lampasas or Belton, is rotating them to different service centers. So that'll be good for us. We'll get them here. We'll get some of these other counties into ours and see how special our senior center is over here. Move tech stock material from precinct 1. Appreciate Mike letting us use equipment to load. With that material, we worked on a couple of approaches on County Road 402 and 408, fixing those approaches. Did some spot blading because the road boards were just so bad. Did maintenance on the rock crusher, and as you saw in the payables today, that was in there. Also, ordered some teeth for that rock crusher because we are out, and so hopefully we'll see that in the next few days. That's if y'all remember correctly, Dale, you probably don't know, but we ordered those teeth and we ordered 50 of them last time. And they've lasted us, what, Mike, 4 or 5 years without having to buy some more. So the more you buy, the better rates you can get. So
They are expensive too.
they are, get ready. Yeah. Went last Thursday was at a TAP legal training that was held in Brownwood, which was very interesting and very positive. I learned a lot because I usually don't deal with that side of it very much. So this week I'll be out Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'll be in the county, but I'm doing it through the internet on some training and stuff that's at the conference out of Austin.
Is that the legislative?
That is the legislative branch training, and there's really a few good topics that are supposed to be up that's going to affect, I think that will affect Mills County. And last, we did some shredding on 406 and 530 during the last week. And just like to say, and thanks for all the prayers that y'all given Sarah and stuff as she's went through her surgery, but everything's looking good. So thank y'all.
Right. Okay, judges report. I'd like to thank the commissioners and the county officials and the interested public for your time, participation, and patience as we have completed today's business and more so the entire budget process. Today's agenda covered what I consider the most important aspect of county government for the upcoming fiscal year: the budget, the tax rate, and the compensation of county employees. One of the many hats county judges wear, at least especially in Mills County, is being the chief budget officer. 4 years ago, I ran for office on my financial experience, and with today's action, I believe I've delivered on that. My wife and I are facing medical procedures that will cause us to largely be absent, or cause me to largely be absent from the courthouse. The voters of Mills County have already chosen our next county judge. Rather than leave the county with an absentee judge, I believe it's in the best interest of the county for me to step down. There are a few loose ends, but I want you to know that I will be retiring and delivering a letter to that effect to the county clerk with a hard end date later this week. The agenda for next Monday's Commissioners Court will be posted later today. It includes an item, consider an act on appointment to fill unexpired term of county judge. I'm confident you guys can conclude that consideration and make a timely decision next Monday. In closing, there've been some scattered controversy and a few votes. I wish it'd gone differently, but I am proud of what the court and I have accomplished over the last 4 years and commit to continue to be available to any of you to make this constitutional transition as seamless as possible. And I would like the honor of making the final motion that we adjourn. If there's a second.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Meeting adjourned.
Thanks.